Good afternoon, ladies, gents and Pikachus. We are all going to die. Yes, all of us, is what I've heard. So let's talk about it. Very interesting story I came across on Facebook from a group which usually does really good, accurate posts. So I have to consider that it might be true. But I thought, is this going to be true? Or is this like one of those scare stories? You know, one of these conspiracy panic posts to get us all to go, the sky's falling in. Potentially. So let's have a look at it. I'll show you the post. So here we are. The Canadian government has begun ramping up testing for a chilling new COVID mRNA AeroVax that seeks to overcome vaccine hesitancy by using aerosols to vaccinate the general public. Unlike traditional vaccines that are deployed using injections, the new AeroVax is an atomized spray that is inhaled. Now, there's a few things in there which we might have a problem with, which don't seem like they're going to be realistic. Principally is the kind of panic factor of this. So we've got all the panic words in there that make us really worry about this, but there's not actually a lot of information to back those things up. And the actual real information that we get doesn't reflect the thing being real, in my opinion. Now, you have your own view on this. You could do your own logical deduction, because we know logical deduction is sometimes extremely wrong. You know, we can logically get to the wrong answer and then it will just be proven wrong. But the things that stick out to me in this story is when I think of aerosols. Sorry, I don't have one to hand. Wait there, I'll go and get one. As I was saying, this is an aerosol can, and the thing that makes this an aerosol can is not the actual contents. There's a tiny piece of compressed aerosol gas added into this, which causes it to become pressurized, so that when I press this button, stuff comes out, and when the aerosol is completely gone, the stuff will have completely gone as well, so this will then be empty. But the thing is about aerosol is this will still have pressurized dangerous gas in here after it's completely used, and when the aerosol inside here is released into the atmosphere, it's not very good for the atmosphere. So that's the first thing. People don't like the word aerosol because it means bad for planet, right? So straight away alarm bells ringing, aerosol's bad. But what they're saying is doctors, or medical researchers I should say, not necessarily doctors, medical researchers have been developing a system where we can use an aerosol-like spray to spray medicine into our mouths. Ideally, we need more facts here, so let's go back to the article. Let's read more of this article. So we know the Canadian government's doing it. The new vaccines are being sprayed in aerosol form. The AeroVax, which is the thing, was developed by researchers at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, funded McMaster University in Canada. So straight away, it says at the top the government has begun ramping this out. Then it says it's being done by Bill and Melinda Gates, but then it says it's a university. And according to researchers, the Canadian government's Institute of Health Research has invested $8 million in taxpayer money into this thing to prepare it for clinical testing. And the scientists developing the experimental COVID vaccine called Serenova insist that it will be administered by a nasal spray. So not into mass population, it will be a spray that goes in the nose. However, the development of inhaled vaccines could allow for large numbers of people to be vaccinated all at once if deployed in the atmosphere, bypassing individual consent. Rather than having an injection, rather than taking a pill or going under anaesthetic and having like an internal pipette into the heart valves or, whatever happens. Rather than all that, it's like cyberpunk where you just go and you just inhale a thing and then that's it done, right? So that's the first proposition is it likely that a medical treatment is going to be dispersed via spraying the population, even one person at a time with an aerosol? Well, let's think about that. If I take a vaccine from a tube, from one of those little injector things, if I take that vaccine and I throw it on your face so you can breathe it in, does that give you inoculation? If I take let's say I take the triple jab, right? Because everyone knows that. Measles, mumps, rubella blocks access to those three things. Well, if you give it MMR to a baby, 98.9% of babies that have that will not develop mumps, measles or rubella. Do you think if I just breathed that with an aerosol over the baby's face and it went yeah, and really didn't like it any more than an injection, would that prevent that baby from getting mumps, measles, rubella? I don't think it would. I don't actually think that's a good transmission method for a vaccine. Then you think, okay, if I spray it into the air, hundreds of feet in the air above people, and it has to go through the atmosphere, through pollution or rain clouds, and there's wind that could possibly just completely blow it away so that it's not actually there. And even if it does get to you, when you're at the bottom, it's an uncontrolled dose. It might be too little to have any effect, or it might all get blown into one big pile and you might just sneeze it into someone's face, and they might get all of it. But it still might not work. So can we say that an aerosol, just based on that logic, is going to be a good way to give people medicines? Unless it's like one person at a time when they literally have a thing that fills up with the dose and they breathe the entire dose in without getting anything else. Probably not, right? So straight away, aerosols are scary, yes, and using it to, spray medicines on people from planes is a scary thought because you think, well, I didn't agree to that. But it's unlikely. It wouldn't be. If I was a medical researcher and someone said to me, can we develop a way to spray vaccines on people from planes? My immediate first thought would be, it's too expensive, it's not effective enough, there's too much stuff that can go wrong, and it might just be a complete waste of time, and you need to get consent from the people you spray. So straight away, it's going to take too long, it's going to cost too much, it ain't going to work, and people are going to hate it. So it won't be a product that sells, right? That's my first thought. Then my second thought is, hang on a minute. If this is a thing that happens, how do we not have to get consent? Considering, even during COVID, plenty of people said no to the vaccine, including myself. There was no punishment for us. We got threatened. We did get threatened with punishment, and socially people went, you're evil, you're spreading diseases to babies, and they did the whole emotional manipulation via the dead baby theory thing, like I got that myself. But I never had the vaccines. They offered me like 5 different types of vaccines, still offer me boosters all the time for flu, I always say no. And for I can't remember how many they offered me, but there was a large amount of things I got offered for COVID. I said no way. No punishment for me. And I never got COVID. I've never had COVID. I will never get COVID. So all those reasons coagulate into a logical machination of me saying, well, that doesn't sound very likely. And then we have the cost. That article said $8 million have been invested by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, anyone who knows the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation knows, yes, they are a nefarious, evil company. Even though they're a charity, Bill Gates is an evil guy who is rich beyond compare. He could spend £100 million every single day for a year and still not even have touched his bank account. This guy could never run out of money. He could literally spend money wildly, millions of pounds every day on ridiculous crap, throw it down the toilet every single day for the rest of his life. He would still be getting richer every day. That's how much money this guy's got. So you don't get to that level of wealth through being kind, generous and charitable. You get to that level of wealth by being ruthless and by being selfish. Let's put it that way. Because I don't know the guy, might not be anything more than that. But my point is, 8 million Canadian dollars is like tuppence. Not even tuppence to him. $8 million to him is like he could fart and it'd be worth more than that, If you excuse the vulgarity of I'm literally saying, the air that he expresses, which he doesn't ever think about past that point and completely forgets about, is worth more to him. He'd be more upset about that than 8 million Canadian dollars. So you think, okay, let's say scientists have created some genius aerosol transmission method which does work with medical drugs, and they've got the consent thing figured out. How much money is that going to cost to do that? It's going to be way more than 8 million Canadian dollars, I'll tell you that much. $8 million Canadian dollars doesn't even buy you a posh new Ferrari. Or 8 million Canadian dollars is like 3/4 of a really nice mansion with a swimming pool and grounds and stuff. You know, it's not a great deal of money. For you and I, it's a great deal of money. 8 million Canadian dollars for me is like a lifetime. I could never spend that much money. Well, I probably could if I tried. But anyway, it's not that much money for Bill Gates is what I'm saying. So if Bill Gates is required with his foundation to fund an aerosol COVID injector medical thing, then I would assume that it's going to be more than 8 million Canadian dollars. Think of the other stuff this guy funds. He claims to have spent something like $150 billion in one little part of Angola alone, building wells and giving people tents and vaccinating children that definitely doesn't sterilise them. He denied that, even though a lot of people said that's definitely what's happening, including the Angolans. He denies it, so it can't possibly have been that. Nothing to see here. But what I'm saying is, for him to throw away money and be interested in throwing away money on a thing, it needs to be something with potential, i.e. not having all those problems that we went through earlier, you know, that wouldn't work, too difficult to do, people are going to hate it, and it's basically not a good idea if you're giving out free drugs to people. And it would be like the consent would come with it. If Bill Gates is going to spend $150 billion or more on a thing like that, then he has already greased those palms to make sure consent isn't going to be an issue for him. Whether that's legal or not, he will make it legal with that huge amount of money. So these are all compelling reasons why I would say, even though, yes, it's a scary thought that the government is one day going to spray us all with a COVID vaccine in an aerosol we can't say no to, and not even ask us if we care, principally because that's bad enough, but then if they can do that, what's to stop them not spraying antidepressants all day, and then sleepers all night, and then, test trial drugs that they can sell in other countries? What's to say we don't get a weird collection, a Jenga of particles that suddenly triggers mass explosions of hearts? Or, I don't know, but the point is it is very risky, and we're not paying for that. Where's the money coming from to do that? Bill Gates and Melinda Gates in their foundation, when they went to Angola to sterilise African babies, they were doing that for a monetary reward because Bill Gates wants to buy Angola. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it is not. Bill Gates wants to lower the land price of the entire country of Angola by wiping out all the peasants on the bit of land he wants, so that he can then walk in and say, well, it's worthless, there's nobody even living there. How about you sell it to me for a song, Mr. Angolan Prime Minister? Or President? That's what he's probably trying to do there. So it's worth him spending $150 billion to buy a whole country cheap. He makes that money back. But what you're suggesting here is Bill Gates is going to spend $8 million on this worldwide project which inoculates every single person with an aerosol thing that's currently impossible, when no one is consenting. So that means nobody is paying. I don't buy it. I just don't. That's going to be the conclusion of this video. Aerosols, Bill Gates Foundation, COVID, aerosol, medical thingy, not consenting to medicines. These are all scary terms, right? I know, I get it. If it was real, it would be terrifying. If it is real, it will be terrifying. But I am not convinced. Like I said, with aerosols, this is not the way that you would choose to give people vaccines, because it just wouldn't work. And if you're going to spray stuff on people from a plane with vaccines, they're going to know. Whether they consent or not, they are going to spot that. And if their health dramatically decreases, or, the environment is bloody wrecked by it, guess what's going to happen? Pitchforks are going to start coming out pretty damn quick. And the person who paid for it, obviously, i.e. in this case, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, are going to be for the chop, because all their other products and services will suffer and their money will go down. It's not like with Angola where they have no other interest there and they don't have to tell people about what they're doing. We found out anyway, but it didn't make them a loss. They did end up buying large swaths of Uganda or, Angola, wherever it was. So in conclusion, do I personally think we should be worried about a aerosol transmission injection of the population with a new untested COVID vaccine, like the article said? No. I don't think the sky's falling in. I don't think we're all doomed. I don't think the end is nigh, and I certainly don't think this would be the method if it was. For the reasons why I've given, it is not medically viable to spray drugs on people from a plane with the dosing, because you wouldn't be able to dose it properly. Half the time or more, it is just not going to work at all, so it'd be a waste of a huge, expensive mass of medical drug. The consent thing is a problem. Governments aren't going to like that because they want to be the guys that say, well, our people gave us the mandate and we spray drugs on our people, you don't get to do it. It's too cheap at 8 million Canadian dollars what it is. You couldn't even develop an aerosol transmission system that had no drug in it. That will cost you more than 8 million Canadian dollars. And finally, it just logically sounds like a scare story, which is, probably got some truth to it. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are probably spending $8 million paying towards someone else's pre-existing research in aerosol, which could potentially in future be adapted to spray drugs from a plane on people with no consent. But the bit that's being paid for is so that the amount is minuscule, it probably is going to a bunch of researchers who mostly have spent it already on a industrial application. That's the kind of cost you would spend on an industrial thing. 8 million Canadian dollars, probably for the Chinese, that's where the scare story is coming from. And the Chinese are then going to replicate that out and call it their own. They're going to say, China, we invented this great aerosol thing. Cost us nothing. Oh, you can't do that, West. But actually, it was Canada. So, that's the end of this video. Don't panic about this necessarily. I'm not saying it's not true. Because like I said, logical deduction can be faulty, can be completely wrong. Find out for yourself. But, on face value, am I pantsing it that I'm going to die from a COVID aerosol injector mechanism being sprayed over my head at night? Absolutely not. No, I'm not. So, that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed that and you learnt something. God bless you all. And I'll see you lovely people in the next one. Bye now. Yes, this has all the hallmarks of being Chinese propaganda. Because like it or not, they do that with the intent of you going, well, the West is terrible. Isn't China so much better? And it really isn't. So that's all for now. God bless you all. Have a lovely day and I'll see you next time. Bye.